Here's what we're going to do. Take a look at this. This is Chris Kuhn, by the way, prospecting with one of his clients.
No, that is my buddy Adam Way in Colorado. He does that all the time.
He'll do whatever it takes to get a client. But if you look on page 249, we're going to show you how to build a career-saving list of people by prospecting in different scenarios. I'm going to read the first paragraph. Chris is going to talk a little bit next about black belts. There's all this noise associated with prospecting. Highlight what you like here. Here's the bottom line. This is my favorite part. If you don't have people to call on, you're out of business. If you get 100 referrals a month, you will be more successful beyond your wildest dreams. Most people don't prospect because why? Their belief is weak. They don't want confrontation. They get delayed gratification of not asking. Many others have an old tape playing in their head that says, I've got to earn the right to ask for a referral. Who told you that? Who told you you have to earn the right to ask for a referral? Chris, what's the alternative?
I would say to you, if you went to the doctor today and you were diagnosed with a disease, whether that was cancer or whatever it was, and the doctor told you these are a couple fundamental things you could do, and if you do this with consistency, you'll probably be able to stay healthy, you'll be able to live, stay here on this great planet. How many of us would be willing to do what the doctor told us to do? I think when it comes to prospecting, it's simply that we give you the sauce, we tell you what you need to do to be really, really successful, but for whatever reason, some of us just don't decide to use the remedy. And the remedy for me is, instead of noise, what if you fundamentally think of prospecting as your business plan? It's ingrained because we've got to see people all the time. What else are more important things than to be doing? The answer is to fight to see people and be in front of people. The easier, softer road is to do this is to become a black belt in prospecting.
What's that mean, Chris, to you, a black belt in prospecting?
A black belt in prospecting to me simply means that every single person I meet is an opportunity to have this conversation with them. It means that every time I go to a function, I'm looking for the most successful people in the function. If I go to a sporting event, I'm looking at aisles and saying, if I just sign that aisle up right there, it's great. If I'm sitting in traffic, I think if I could just get the fast lane, I'm on top of it. When I'm in front of my best clients that give me the best referrals and prospects, I'm constantly telling them how I appreciate it, setting competitions with them. And that's what I was looking for before I came up here. I have a client of mine I was just looking at, the guy I was telling you about yesterday. So he wants to be my number one prospector. He sent me 30 people that I needed to be seeing, and he sends me all their information, who to call. So like, he's an advocate for me to go out and see great people. And I only have a couple people that are at that level, but you also need to train your prospects on how you get paid in your business. So people come and they understand that I'm looking for prospecting. So all the time, Jason, if I see Jason, I haven't seen him in a while, and I know Jason's a partner, one of my questions would always be, Jason, are there any new partners in the firm right now? Anybody that I should be talking to? Have you met any studs lately when you were out running across Milwaukee this morning at 6 in the morning? It's just on my mind all the time. We got to see the people. I mean, it's pretty simple.
So we're going to show you three things. Page 250, write these down in the box. There's three things Chris and I are going to show you. First is how to prospect with clients in person. Number two, prospect with clients online and over the phone. And then lastly, we're going to show you how to prospect with complete strangers. Prospecting with clients in person. Let me just quick read something here. When most reps prospect at the end of client meetings, by the way, this is Chris Kuhn talking, but I'm going to read what Chris says because you're going to think it's funny as I read it. They've often had a great conversation all the way through the meeting. Is this you, by the way? You have a great conversation through your fact finder, your close, whatever it is. The problem is, all of a sudden, when it's time for the ask, their ass puckers up. This is Chris Kuhn. This is what happens. And it manifests itself for all of you a little bit differently. But the point is, this is what happens. So the thing is, if you look on the bottom of 250, there's three reasons that people do this. Three. Number one, they struggle with their belief in who they are. Well, Catherine and I just helped you with that. You need to practice this. What's number two, Chris?
They struggle with the habit of doing what is unnatural. And what's unnatural is asking for referrals, because it is the only time in your complete process where you put yourself up there for personal rejection.
And then number three, they struggle with good time management skills. If you look at the next page, 251, here's Chris's top two keys. We're going to go with theory first, and then we're going to get to practical. Top two keys at the end of any client meeting for prospecting.
So number one is you have to plant the seed at the beginning of the meeting.
Ooh. You have to plant the seed at the beginning. Raise your hand if you are currently, for every meeting you have with a client, planting the prospecting seed right up front. Only about 10 hands. So not many people are doing this. It's a big opportunity. What's number two?
Is keeping the same confident, calm body language and tone of voice.
Even through the ask.
I mean, that's probably the biggest thing. I mean, you literally sit there for an hour, 90 minutes, and everybody's giving you their life story, their dreams, ambitions, and everything. And then all of a sudden it comes time for prospecting and they wonder if you're on medication, do you have epilepsy, because you get all, weird. And, body language is even more important than the words, right? It's like, and
Let's try this. Have a seat with me, Chris. And what we're going to do is, let's imagine it's the beginning of a meeting.
Okay.
And you just want to plant that seed with me. Beginning of a fact finder. We'll get to the end of the fact finder later, but just the beginning.
Well, yeah, I mean,
just real quick, how would you plant the seed?
So where I would plant the seed is in the approach. So Jason, a lot of times, when I'm working with my clients, we work on defensive and offensive strategies, and we really find that we bring a lot of value at helping you really figure out what you need, when in your life, and how much capital you're actually really going to need to have the decisions and the choices that you want to have for you and your family. I do that through a fact-finding process where we go through a 3-step approach together, where in the first step, I'm simply going to ask a lot of questions of you and really learn a lot about what makes you tick. In the second step of the process is an opportunity for you to ask questions of me, things that are important to you. And then in the third step is I'll actually take that information and then I'll put together a written brief and get back together with you and go over that. The other thing that's really, really important that I ask you to keep your mind open for as we go through this process is that you and I are here today because of Catherine Forrester. And Catherine really, thought enough of you and myself to think that we'd benefit from working together, which I really do think we will bring a lot of value to each other. I want you to, through this process, think of, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 individuals when we're done that you think might benefit from the same thing, so that I can continually go out in the marketplace and grow my brand in the community, and I do that through referrals. Does that sound fair?
And there it is. Wow. So the question is, could you do the exact same thing, but this time on a personal observation? How would you change your approach
I would
there?
give you one that's easy. So when you're on the phone, so we go back to the phoning yesterday. So how many times are you on with somebody really excited and they're not going to meet with you? Does that ever happen? Anybody ever have that happen in here? So I just, in that meeting, if Jason's not going to meet me, I'll say, hey, Jason, evidently we're never going to get together. Is that a fair statement? Yeah, of course it is. Okay, wonderful. Well, listen, I was referred to you from Josh, and I'm telling you, Jason, it's critical in my practice. I'm brand new at this, that I need to get out in front of great quality individuals. Can you think of like a superstar in the community that I could simply reach out to and mention the fact that I talked to you on the phone today? Now, what's the worst case scenario in that question, right? I don't get anybody. Wow, it's any different than when I hung up the phone? What's best case, right? All of a sudden, Jason said, well, you know what? Call my brother Jim. My brother Jim is a freak of nature. He's a stud, whatever. And I call up Jim. Jim doesn't know if Jason became a client of mine or not. But again, it's why not have that, basically at the end of the day, it's like, do you want to be great at this? If you want to be great at something, you got to do something that most people aren't willing to do every single day. And you got to have courage. Really, prospecting is no more than courage. Relentless courage in the pursuit of something much bigger than yourself.
Good. Chris, you and I are going to prospect. You're going to do the prospecting now at the end of a fact finder. So now we're done with it.
Right.
And we're going to go ahead and sit back down. But you all can read this on 252. And as you're reading this, I want you to try to think about in that box on 252, what are the 2 things that Chris is doing that are that are not just unique to Chris, but so special that all of you can do. So we're going to also model this, by the way, for a close, for a policy delivery, for all those. But let's start with the fact finder.
So at the end of the day, when you've done how many times have we ever done a fact finder to never ever see the person ever again, correct? So I want to get paid just like a CPA gets paid, an attorney gets paid for their time. So again, I planted the seed, Jason, with you earlier. So at the end, I always say, Jason, there's a couple things we need to do, and we're about done here today. How is this process?
It's pretty good.
Okay, pretty good?
Yeah, it was good.
I thought it was all-star.
It was awesome.
I mean, come on. Pretty good. There's a lot of pretty good people out there. I'm hoping to be excellent for you.
Yeah, it was good.
No, that's awesome. And I've really enjoyed the time that we spent together. So the first thing that we need to do is set up a time to get back together with you and your wife, if you prefer, with you and I together, so we can kind of go over the information that we talked about today. And secondly, so much more importantly than that is, Jason, is that a lot of people wonder how I get paid. And I really get paid in 2 ways. One is if you become a client of mine, that'll be great. And whatever carrier we work with, at Acme, they're going to pay me a commission. But secondly, so much more importantly than that is, Jason, is I ask everybody that I work with, like I had mentioned to you before, how I met you through Catherine, to really right now just kind of take the brakes off of your mind and think of 3 to 5 individuals who are like yourself, that have great character, they have great integrity, they have personal responsibility. And if you were in my shoes, they're the type of people that you would want to be in front of. And I'm not assuming that you know anything about their information that we talked about today, but I do know that, just from this time together with you today, you mentioned your CPA, you mentioned your attorney, and you mentioned your best friend that you love to play golf with. So those would be the types of individuals that I love to meet with.
Look at his eyes right now. Have they left mine? What do most people do when they lie? But he's never looking away. Watch his body language. Chris has amazing facial expressions and body language. You want to see a confident ask. That was it. That's why we're doing this on video, because you can watch this again and again, especially if you're an energizer. But what else did you notice about what he just did? Because that was pretty darn good, don't you think? What else did he do? Yeah.
He challenged you when you said pretty good.
He challenged me.
I feel like a lot of times we would back down from that and be like, okay, great.
Yeah, a lot of people back down.
Kind of challenged and said, I thought it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, he challenged the pretty good and said, no, I strive for excellence. Was it excellent, Jason? What else did he do during the ask? Yeah. He asked for people, the specific people. What else? Go ahead. It's very nonchalant.
Non-threatening. But what did I also do, which is a key component that nobody said yet? There you go. Excellent. Right. I went back to my nominator. See, that's why the key, it always gets back to the nominator. You guys have seen Catherine today, so if Catherine had referred, she's amazing, she's sharp as a tack, right? So I know that about Catherine, so I know Jason knows that. So again, I keep always pushing that way.
Page 252, let's give you two things. Two keys to make prospecting part of your personal mindset. Number one, Chris, is what?
Yeah, real fast before I do that, I think it's important is that what if Jason didn't give me any referrals? We talk about it in here, so he's not going to come to it. So, evidently, Jason, you're still not feeling comfortable in our process to feel really comfortable in your own skin to think of the value that you might offer some people that you know. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. And I got that from my man Carl, right? Is that fair? Well, my hope is then, over time that we work together, that you'll see that our relationship is the most important relationship, but I have to bring people into my system to allow me to be able to do what we did today. Yeah. So as we work through this process together, it really makes me feel amazing when someday down the road, whether that's in our next meeting or the meeting after that you might think of somebody and say, you know what, Chris, I've had some time to see how you operate and work and feel really comfortable in our process and what our team has to offer. Is that fair? Okay, thanks a lot, and I appreciate that. So I don't want to burn the bridge. I set the next meeting, I move forward. What do we have to do all the time in prospecting? In simplest form is you have to ask.
That's number one.
Right?
3 asks.
3 asks. So even if you're struggling with prospecting, you all have some amazing people that believe in you when you came into this business. So I would tell you that one of the best things you could do when you get home is to actually call people that care about you, and you go and you sit down with them. A friend of mine, Dan, did this in Atlanta. He was struggling, and back in the days of Arthur Anderson, went to a partner there and said, I've gotten into business for myself, and I am failing miserably. I'm in the ICU. I need help. I need help getting in front of good people. I value you as a person. Who can you think of? And the guy gave him 89 managers, and Arthur Anderson had saved his career. So in its simplest form is we ask, right? Then we ask and we get better. We become the black belt. Maybe when you go karate, what is it, white belt to black belt, right? You don't get to the black belt overnight, but you certainly can't get any belt if you don't ask. So I think that's critical. And then you got to let go of the outcome. See, everybody is like always so concerned with, well, where's that going to go? Because I can tell you, I've had great fact finds that I never saw again that referred me to somebody that did 5, 10, 15, 20,000 a premium or had a couple $100,000 in an investment account. I would have never gotten that. And that's when I go I look in my rearview mirror and I'm always like, thanks God. Because hadn't I asked, I got paid that way. See what I'm saying? That's a big deal.
Let's do it at the end of a close now. So remember, did you plant the seed at the beginning of the close? Just like a fact finder, right? You planted it.
Yeah, I'm always asking. So
okay.
I mean, yeah.
So now we're at the end of the close, and now you're going to do your ask. His language for this is on 253. Chris, you don't worry about just looking at that language. You just do it.
No.
Well, at the end of a close, what would you say to me?
Well, I mean, first off, Jason, I'm really, really excited the fact that you've decided to engage and to work with our team. And I really want you to know that I value that relationship in the beginning of this, and I hope to really deliver a great outcome for you over time. And only time will be able to tell if that happens. But one last thing before I go, I'm going to have everything set up for you next Tuesday morning at your house. We'll email you. We'll confirm that for you. But one last question I always ask before I go is, I continually build my client base on great referrals and prospects, and you've been great along the way. In fact, you gave me 5 people from our last meeting. I've actually contacted them. I'm meeting with 3 of them. I wanted to ask you, can you think of 1 or 2 more people while we're here right now in this moment that I could have the opportunity again to reach out to? Again, the same types of people as you thought of before.
That's the end of a close. Now, remember, if you're a fascinator, a performer, or an inspire, we're going to give you all this language for all 3 of those in just a moment. But we want to have you watch Chris for a couple of other things. In a moment, by the way, 253, a third of the way down, underneath Chris's language, underline this for me. What if you told yourself that each month you're going to add 10 A-plus referrals? What would that do to your practice? That's how you start to change the dynamic of your practice.
So what is an A plus for you today? For some of you, it could be, if they had an income of 100,000, well, all right, I'm getting 20 of those this month, and then it's 200, then it's 300, then it's 400, and then you have clients that make millions, right? So it all changes, but the more you can bring the best people in, it's so much more fun. You actually get in your car, you're excited about the whole day's activities because they're in front of the people you want to be in front of. You have the biggest impact with those people. Yet we do what we all do, is sometimes we take what we get, and then we keep, repeating this. It's like the on the little gerbils, they get on that, and it just gets old, right? So I want to get off that treadmill, and the best way to do it is have courage to identify what you want, take the time to, look at what you want, and then go out in the marketplace and find it.
So Chris, one of my favorite things, and you all can watch this on 254, one of my favorite things about Chris is how he prospects with clients at the policy delivery. He's amazing at this. And what he does at the policy delivery on 254 is he hands out a trust, commitment, and value letter. Let me just read the start of this. Look at it on 254 with me. I want trust to be the cornerstone of our relationship. This is the real letter that Chris sends out. You have my commitment to deliver on every promise we make. As a policyholder in Acme Mutual, you've placed value in me and the services I provide. In order to sustain the value in our relationship and continue to build the trust, we have mutual commitment in these areas. Bing, 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 and bing. These are all the values he wants to have in common with his clients. Now, the reason I showed you that is because he's about to prospect with me at a policy delivery, and I can guarantee you that he'll be delivering this letter for him to do so. So, Chris, now you're dropping off the policy.
Right.
You're going to prospect with me now, too. So you've already prospected with me at the fact finder, you've prospected at the close, and now we're going to do another one at the policy delivery. What's this going to look like?
And I'll say, hey, Jason, really excited. We'll be in touch with you for your next review. One last thing before I part is, and you're probably getting to see a theme here with me, is that I really love the opportunity to get in front of great people. So far, of the people you've introduced me to, I've had some amazing meetings. I had a really great meeting with Carl. David's open, and Sandy actually was the most excited to meet with me. So we got together. She's a rock star, and she's doing music and all kinds of craziness. So we're going to do some great stuff together. And I wanted to see if today you could think of 3 or 4 more people. I did take a little bit of artistic licensing and went into your LinkedIn account. I identified 4 or 5 individuals here that I have right in front of me that I'd love to have the opportunity to connect with. I wanted to get your thoughts on those people.
Good. Now, a lot of people are going to ask right now, Chris, because that was amazing. But they're going to ask, well, what if somebody pushes back?
Well, push back.
And let me just do a pushback right now on 255. I'm going to push him back in a second, but I want you to see it. 255 is where it is. And what I'm going to say to Chris is, Chris, let's just say he didn't give me this list, because by the way, when he tees up that list, it's pretty hard to push back.
One of the things that's important on the list that I learned from somebody, if you do it on your iPad, a lot of people will do it on their iPads now, is Jason. And I put it in their hand. Jason, this is the list.
Yeah, it's hard to
when
push
you
back
hold
when that
something,
happens.
there's something that happens when they're like looking at it. It's amazing.
But if you didn't give me that list and I
Right.
said something like this, Chris, didn't we just do this a couple meetings back when you got all that information from me in that one meeting?
We did. What did you think about that process?
It was all right.
Okay. Yeah, I do. And one of the things I've learned, Jason, it's important that I need to do it all the time. And I do that really for 2 reasons. One is that I got to keep my skills sharp, because it's easy not to do this. This is probably the most difficult thing that I do in building my business. But secondly is that I know that life and time goes by quickly, and we meet a lot of people. And I really value who you are and what you're becoming and the type of business that you're building. You're the type of individual and the clients that I want If I look at my arc and I'm filling it up with 400 families, you're one of my 400. So when I'm in front of people like you, I take every opportunity I can to at least ask. I don't expect every time, Jason, by all means, that you're going to have people for me. That'd be kind of foolish on my part. But I really do think you know amazing people, and I want to meet those people.
What's he doing right now? What did he just do?
Stroking.
Stroking? What else is he doing? I mean, is he being vulnerable? Is he giving me a number of reasons why?
And more important, I'm being truthful.
Yeah, he's being totally sincere. Wow. I mean, there's no BS there. One of the things I asked Chris, and I asked him a ton of this when I interviewed him about this, I said, Chris, what if I push back here and push back here and push back there? And what if we get this pushback? And what if the advisors that come to this program get all this pushback? You know what he said to me? It's on page 255, the bottom, second to last paragraph. If you're constantly asking yourself, what do I do about the people who push back? Then you're thinking about it too much. If somebody came up to the table right now next to one of your clients, your client probably wouldn't be embarrassed to introduce that person to you. Chris and I are going to role play on the bottom of 255 and the top of 256 an amazing way to deal with any pushback you get. Go ahead and read to me the bottom where it says Chris. It starts with our relationship, Mike.
Right.
I'm going to play Mike the client, and I'm pushing back. Listen to what he says to me.
Our relationship, Mike, is much more important than any referral you could give me. But what I ask of you is, who is your best friend?
And in fact, my best friend's Brandon.
Okay. Is Brandon married or single?
Well, he's single.
Okay. So let's say you refer me to Brandon. I meet with Brandon. We uncover a need that Brandon has. He needs some disability insurance. Knock on wood, but unfortunately, let's say that Brandon got disabled, was unable to work for a 3-year period. The insurance company came in and paid Brandon a check every single month from the time he was off work. Do you think Brandon would say that you're introducing me to him was one of the most important meetings potentially that he ever had?
Hear that? Yeah, he would.
And that's all I'm asking you to do is think about it. I know you don't know of any friends that are waking up in the morning and saying, honey, today let's buy some insurance.
Isn't that neat? I think this works for any style. This is a powerful way for pushback. And by the way, if you're thinking about pushback, you're probably thinking too much. But now, here's what we're going to do. We want to give them time in a second to prospect using some of your language, and also I'm going to share with them all the others. But before we do, let's do one last role play, the end of a client review.
So in the prospect, the client review, again, at the end of the day, Jason, I love spending 80% of my time doing what you and I do today. And that's really, talking about your dreams, your goals, and your objectives, and really showing you how, red is bad, green is good, and boy, we're getting a lot greener. Wouldn't you agree? Mm-hmm. And one of the things that and I've talked to you about it, is that I have to spend 20% of my time getting in front of great people just like yourself. Mm-hmm. If I don't spend the 20% of my time doing that, I can't do the 80%. I'd be out of business. I would no longer be able to function at this 80% capacity, which I think we've found to be very valuable. Mm-hmm. So I ask all of my clients that I work with, again, as we've talked over the years, but to really think of, today I want you to really think of 3 people that make in excess of $500,000 a year, that probably have $500,000 to $1 million of investable assets, that I could reach out to and let them know that you and I do work together.
And there it is. Those are the prospecting languages for an energizer. We just modeled 5 scenarios: fact finder, close, policy delivery, client review, and if they ask for help, client review. If they don't, if you're an Inspire, what I want you to do is turn to page 260. You'll see Catherine Forrester's language for prospecting. You'll see her general prospecting language, and you'll see if it changes at all in any other situation. If you are a performer, turn to page 261 and you'll see Carl Detman's prospecting language. If you are a fascinator, turn to page 262 and you'll see Matt Heckman's prospecting language, or you can turn to page 263 and you'll see Jim Tedick's prospecting language. By the way, if you're a fascinator, you'll notice on 262 and 263 that there's some similarities there between this language. And if I was to ask Catherine, Carl, and Matt to come up here, not now, but I will, I guarantee you that this language that's on these pages is exactly what will come out of their mouths. Page 264 is a summary of Chris Kuhn's language. Why would I put Chris Kuhn's language there along with everybody else's? Because now you're going to get to do an activity. I want you to take whatever one you are. I want you to abandon your prospecting language just for the next 10 minutes and steal the one that you want. And take a look on page 265, and I want you to pick whichever one of those 4 scenarios you want: fact finder, close, policy delivery, or review. Chris modeled them all. Turn to the person next to you and prospect them. 2.5 minutes for each of you, and then switch. Good luck.